Harv Aronson of the Total Sports Recall podcast here to share a winning strategy for Mother's Day from our partners at Sterling Roastery. Behind every legendary athlete is a support system that never quits, and for most of us, that's Mom. This Mother's Day, give her a morning ritual that's as consistent as her support. Sterling Roastery coffee is sourced from around the world and roasted multiple times a week to ensure unbeatable freshness in every cup. Instead of a one-time gift, draft a winning team for her kitchen with a Sterling coffee subscription. It's the warm-up she deserves, delivered straight to her door. From the very first whistle of the day to the final buzzer, let her wake up, warm up, and Sterling up. Visit sterlingsoap.com to start her subscription today. That's STIRLING soap.com.
The band played, the fans cheered. The players were hugging and jumping on each other. Some were laughing and others were crying at what they had just accomplished. Some looked at the scoreboard to make sure that it was correct, and that scoreboard was definitely correct. The scoreboard read Villanova 66, Georgetown 64. This is a story of the improbable run by Villanova University in the 1985 NCAA men's basketball tournament. This is the Cinderella story that makes March Madness so incredibly fascinating. And this is Basketball History 101.
This is Basketball History 101 with Rick Loayza.
Welcome back to award-winning Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network. I am your host, Rick Loayza, and this is the podcast we bring to life some of the forgotten stories from basketball history. We are bringing old school basketball to a new school audience. And today we bring you the story of the Villanova men's basketball team and their extremely unlikely run to the championship in 1985. They are still the lowest seeded team to win the entire tournament. The NCAA tournament back then allowed 64 teams to enter out of a total of over 300 schools that compete at the top level of university athletics, also known as Division I. The tournament is broken up into 4 regions: East, West, South, and Midwest, and each region has a team seeded number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on all the way through number 16. This means that there are a total of 4 teams seeded number 1, one for each region. So to be an 8th seed means that your team is really considered somewhere around the 30th best team in the country. A team seeded that low never wins the entire tournament. There are too many elite teams to go through in order to climb the top of that mountain. In most years, the team that wins the entire tournament is typically considered to be one of the top 5 or 6 teams in the entire country. Anyone outside of that group does not really have a chance, and certainly not a team ranked somewhere around 30 like Villanova was. But as I say to my kids all the time, that is why you play the game. You never truly know what is going to happen until the game is played. The championship game that year was played at Rupp Arena on the campus of the University of Kentucky. Georgetown University showed up as the heavy favorites. They were a team of destiny. They were the defending champions and brought back every significant player to try to win it again. The Hoyas were bigger, faster, and just plain better than every other school out there. They entered the game with a record of 35-2. Including 2 previous victories over Villanova. They also had the best player in the country in Patrick Ewing. He was the most formidable force in college basketball. Every university wanted him when he was coming out of high school in Boston, and many thought that he would surpass the career of Lou Alcindor at UCLA. Alcindor, now known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, played 3 years on the varsity at UCLA, winning the National Player of the Year award all 3 years, and winning the national championship all 3 years. It does not get better than that. But for Ewing, they were predicting that he might win 4 national championships for Georgetown. Now, he did win one in 1984 and then lost the championship game 2 other times, including the one that we are talking about today. I mean, Villanova had nobody who could match up with Ewing. Now, Ed Pinckney was the closest thing that Villanova had to someone who could give Ewing a tough time. And this was also the third time that they were playing each other that season. So there was a high level of familiarity between the two teams. But still, nobody asked if Georgetown would win, but rather by how much they would win. But Villanova's coach, Rollie Massimino, had a plan. They were going to slow down the game as much as they could. If they got into a track meet with Georgetown, they were going to get destroyed. So they decided to slow the game down and reduce the number of overall possessions. When Villanova had the ball, they would take their time getting into their offense. If the shot was not there, they would pass the ball back to the top of the key, reset, and run a different play. They were absolutely committed to make every possession count. No rushed shots, no silly gambles on offense. Villanova was absolutely obsessed with working the ball around until they got a great shot on every single possession. It was a basketball masterclass on patience and discipline, and it was working. Because at 12 minutes into the game, the Villanova Wildcats were shooting 90% from the field, an absurd level of efficiency, and yet Villanova fell behind early, if you can believe that. That is how good Georgetown was. Two things that you will notice if you try to find the game on YouTube is that one, there is no three-point line. That would come into college basketball the following season. And number two, there was also no shot clock, which would also come into the game the following year. So Villanova could take as long as they wanted on offense because they were under no pressure to shoot. Villanova was going to force Georgetown to defend for 30, 40, even 50 seconds at a time, and that can tire out a defense quickly. Now, with 6 minutes left in the first half, the game was tied at 20 points apiece. Villanova's strategy was proving correct. Villanova actually held the ball for the last 1 minute and 45 seconds before making the final basket of the first half to go into the halftime with a lead of 29-28. Now, inside the locker room, Massimino didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. His message was clear to his players: do it again. Do exactly what they did in the first half and do it again in the second half. Now, across the hall, Georgetown was frustrated and it was showing. Ewing, who had dominated for a few stretches, but Villanova never really let Georgetown get anything going. Georgetown was being taken out of their game and they did not know what to do about it. Georgetown forward Michael Graham would later say, quote, "They never let us get on a run. That's how you beat a team like ours," unquote. Now, very few fans got overly nervous about a 1-point halftime lead by Villanova. Surely, Georgetown would make some adjustments and dominate the second half. It was only a matter of time before Georgetown took over the game. The one change that Georgetown made was that they were no longer going to just let Villanova stall. No more of just sitting back and watching Villanova pass the ball around for a minute or more. They were going to pressure the ball and force Villanova into some sort of action. Georgetown even put a full court press to hopefully force Villanova into making mistakes. But Villanova did not make mistakes. They kept their composure and kept playing their game. But because of Georgetown's defensive pressure, they did force more possessions by causing Villanova to shoot more often. But the unfortunate thing for Georgetown was that Harold Jensen just kept making his shots. It also did not help that Georgetown put Villanova on the free throw line for 27 free throw attempts, and Villanova made 22 of them. That's 82% free throw shooting. Not a big deal for an NBA team, but that is deadly accurate for a university team, even a really good one. Ed Pinckney, who would later have a decent NBA career, just kept doing the dirty work of playing good defense, getting rebounds, and scoring from within the paint. It was probably the best game of his Villanova career, and this was the night to have a career game. And this was how the game kept going until the final minutes, when it became palpable that Villanova could really do this. They were the team that had no business playing in the championship game. They were the Cinderella team. The glass slipper would surely fall off at some point, but it never did. And you could see Georgetown pressing harder and harder as the minutes ticked away. The Hoyas were called for several charging fouls where they were so desperate to score that they were just running over Villanova defenders. Georgetown was starting to do some very un-Georgetown things, but who could blame them? Now, as it got into the late second half, the clock seemed to run so quickly for Georgetown's perspective. For Villanova, the clock could not run fast enough. However, Georgetown did hold a 42-41 lead with around 10 minutes left in the game. But Villanova retook the lead with the next possession, and the game kept going back and forth, and with just over 7 minutes left, the broadcasters were talking about how Patrick Ewing looked exhausted, and he probably was. He was exerting so much energy on defense, but for the Georgetown coach, John Thompson, there was no way he was going to take Ewing out of the game. As the clock ran down, both sets of fans were on the edge of their seat. Would Georgetown prevail and become a repeat champion, or would Villanova complete the upset victory? Now, as they had been doing all game, the Villanova defense was swarming Ewing and doing everything they could to get the ball out of his hands. By the time the final minute came along, Georgetown had no choice but to purposely foul Villanova and hope that Villanova missed their free throws to give Georgetown a chance to score. But Villanova did not miss, at least not many of those free throws. And finally, the clock showed zeros. The game was over, and Villanova had prevailed 66-64. There was confusion, disbelief. Was there any time left on the clock? The final action of the game was an inbounds play by Villanova, but it really was over. Villanova had done the improbable. After the game, Raleigh Massimino said, quote, "I kept telling them you don't need miracles if you play the game perfectly, just perfectly." Unquote. In the end, Villanova shot 78% from the field on 22 of 28 shooting. This is not very many shots. Georgetown shot nearly twice as many, going 29 for 53. But with all of the Georgetown fouls, it was the free throw line that made the difference. Villanova made 22 free throws compared to just 6 for Georgetown. And for as well as Villanova shot the ball, they only won by 2 points. They shot 78% from the field and 82% from the free throw line to win by just 2. They played a near perfect game, and they had to because Georgetown really was that good. After the game, Patrick Ewing said as much, quote, "You have to give them credit. They didn't miss," unquote. But the biggest lesson learned from this game is that Villanova showed all of college basketball what was possible. If you have a plan and are able to execute that plan, you never know what might happen. Even today, no one will ever say that Villanova was the better team. They were simply the better team that night, and that night was the only one that mattered. That's what I love about sports. You never know what's going to happen until it happens. Well, that is it for today. Join us next time when we share another story from basketball history. That's next time on Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network, the headquarters of sports yesteryear. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com to find out more about this and other sports history podcasts. If you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button. And check out our page on Facebook. It's called Basketball History 101 Podcast. There you will find short historical posts, and I will also announce there when new episodes come out. I want to thank my producer and editor, Jacob Loayza. Join us each week as we continue to mine the history of basketball for more great stories from the past. Take care, and see you soon.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Gridiron, Japan!
Hello, Sports History Network listeners. I'm Greg St. James, and I'm inviting you to take a journey with me across the Pacific with Gridiron Japan Radio. I'm joined by a powerhouse team to bring you the best of football here in the land of the rising sun. We've got John Gunning of Inside Sport Japan and the Japan Times, star international and ex-Lee quarterback Aaron Ellis, and we're thrilled to welcome the new duo from the newly relaunched From the 55-Yard Line podcast, which is now Gridiron America Radio, co-hosts Dave Solinsky and Mike Tackett. We cover the Japanese X League as well as the college game and interview the players and coaches who are making a splash here on the far side of the world. Subscribe today and help us celebrate the global game.